Greetings, everybody. Welcome back to Wildlife Wisdom. And so far, I've been your host, Zero Yeti. And first up, Happy Pride Month. And secondly, Happy Dinosaur Day. And this Dinosaur Day, we're covering the Elrhaz Formation, which is an early Cretaceous formation in Niger in North Africa. And the first animal we have is Suchomimus, which is a genus of spinosaurid theropod dinosaur. Lived throughout what is now North Africa during the Aptian and early Albian stages of the early Cretaceous period, some 125 to 112 million years ago. The first remains of Suchomimus, consisting of a giant thumb claw, was discovered by David Verrocchio in December of 1997 in Niger, while he was working for a paleontological dig led by Paul Sereno. Throughout 1997 and 1998, the dig team would unearth a two-thirds complete giant theropod skeleton. In 1998, Paul Sereno, Alison Beck, Didier Duthiel, Boubacar Gado, Hans Larsen, Gabrielle Lyon, Jonathan Marcotte, Oliver Rahout, Rudyard Sadlier, Christian Sidor, David Verrocchio, Gregory Wilson, and Jeffrey Wilson would name and describe the animal as Suchomimus tenerensis. The generic name Suchomimus, meaning crocodile mimic in ancient Greek, and the specific name tenerensis is after the Terre desert where the animal was found. Since then, several more specimens have been recovered, reaching around 31 to 36 feet or 9.5 to 11 meters in length, and 5,500 to 11,700 pounds, or 2,500 to 5,300 kilograms in weight. Suchomimus was a massive animal which had a long and low crocodile-like skull that was supported by a thick but short neck. It had sturdy hind legs and powerfully built forelimbs, which bore a giant claw on each thumb. Along the midline of the animal's back ran a low dorsal sail, built from the long neural spines of its vertebrae. Like other spinosaurs, Suchomimus would have lived near bodies of water, and the bulk of its diet was likely comprised of bony fish, eels, sharks, rays, and amphibians, occasionally being supplemented with pterosaurs, crocodilians, turtles, and other dinosaurs. And just same for Sarchosuchus. Good. And next up is Hybotis, which is an extinct genus of hybodont shark-like cartilaginous fish, which lived throughout much of the world's marine, brackish, and freshwater environments from the late Permian period to the late Cretaceous period, some 259 to 66 million years ago. The first known remains of Hybotis, consisting of various isolated teeth, were collected and formally described from throughout Europe by Jean-Louis Rodolphe Agassiz in 1837, whilst he worked on his 5-volume series, Research on Fossil Fish. He dubbed the creature Hybotis, meaning crooked or humped tooth in ancient Greek. In the following century, several more remains will be unearthed, including spines, jaws, vertebrae, and even whole specimens. Because of this, numerous species have been assigned to Hybotis, with varying degrees of analysis and evidence unfortunately leading to Hybotis becoming a bit of a wastebasket taxon. Sorry if you can hear the central cooling system. It's 90 degrees outside and I don't want to cook alive, so I'm not turning it off for the video recording. I hope you understand. So Hybotis has become a bit of a wastebasket taxon and is currently undergoing a broad amount of re-examination. As such, the exact species count is uncertain. Although the first believed to merely be an extinct example of a living shark family, in 1911 Dr. Zittel showed them to be their own distinct lineage, which along with modern sharks and rays make up the clade Euselachii, reaching around 6.6 to 9.8 feet or 2 to 3 meters in length. Hybotis possessed a streamlined body shape similar to modern sharks, with 2 similarly sized dorsal fins that would have helped it steer with precision. These fins were also aligned with dentinous spikes, which exhibited a rib-like ornamentation located near the tip of the spine. with rows of hooked denticles present on the posterior side. The spines may have played a role in defending the animal from predation. Hybotus is also unique in that the fish sported multiple different kinds of teeth, each distinctly shaped. It is thought the Hybotus varied addition would have allowed it to opportunistically exploit a variety of food sources. The sharper teeth would have allowed it to catch slippery prey, while the flatter teeth would probably helped them to crush shelled creatures. Next up is Eocarcharia, which is a genus of carcharodontosaurid theropod dinosaur, lived in what is now North Africa during the Aptian Albian stages of the early Cretaceous period, some 125 to 112 million years ago. The holotype specimen of Eocarcharia, consisting of a partial skull, was unearthed in the year 2000 during an expedition to the Elrhaz Formation, led by University of Chicago paleontologist Paul Sereno. These remains were found alongside the remains of an albelisaurid named Kryptops. Yet it wouldn't be until 2008 that the animal would be formally named, described by Dr. Sereno and Dr. Brusati. Since then, some additional postcranial remains have been recovered and reassigned from other genuses. The type and only species is Eocarcharia Dinops, which roughly translates to dawn shark with fierce eyes. This specific name is in reference to the fact that Eocarcharia's brow was swollen to a massive band of bone, giving it a menacing glare and distinct appearance. Reaching roughly 19 to 26 feet, or 6 to 8 meters in length, and around 2,200 to 4,400 pounds, or 1,000 to 2,000 kilograms in weight, Eocarcharia would have been one of the largest predators of its environment, likely using its sharp blade-like teeth to dispatch various prey in the form of sauropods, ornithopods, crocodilomorphs, and smaller theropods it shared its environment with. Next up is Nigersaurus, as a genus of Rebecchusaurid sauropod dinosaur. It lived throughout what is now Africa during the Middle Cretaceous period, some 115 to 105 million years ago. Remains thought to belong to Nigersaurus were first discovered during a 1965 to 1972 expedition to the Republic of Niger, led by French paleontologist Philippe Taquet, and excuse the train in the background. And they were first mentioned in a paper published in 1976. Although a common genus, the dinosaur had been poorly known until more material from other individuals was discovered during expeditions led by American paleontologist Paul Sereno in 1997 and in 2000. As such, Nigersaurus was named and described in more detail in 1999 by Sereno and his colleagues. The genus name Nigersaurus means Niger reptile in reference to the country where it was discovered. The specific name Taqueti honors Taquet, who was the first to organize large-scale paleontological expeditions to the region. Limited understanding of the genus was a result of the poor preservation of its remains, which arises from the delicate and highly pneumatic construction of the animal's skeleton. Reaching around 30 feet or 9 meters in length and 4,000 to 9,000 pounds or 1,800 to 4,100 kilograms in weight, Nigersaurus was a surprisingly small sauropod, especially compared to other sauropods, and being comparable in size to a modern elephant. It was a quadrupedal animal with a small head, short neck, thick hind legs, and a prominent tail. The skull was very specialized for feeding, with large fenestrae and thin bones, and a wide muzzle filled with more than 500 teeth, which were replaced at a rapid rate around once every 14 days. The jaws may have bore a keratinous sheath, giving the animal a beak-like structure. In life, Nigersaurus was probably a browser, traveling the plains, wetlands, and riverine forests in herds as they fed upon ferns, horsetails, and angiosperms. Sorry, I'm misreading things. Next up is Kryptops, which is a genus of albelisaurid. Sorry, that's a cat outside. Kryptops is a genus of albelisaurid theropod dinosaur that lived throughout what is now North Africa during the Middle Cretaceous period, some 115 to 105 million years ago. The holotype specimen, consisting of a partial skull, some ribs, vertebrae, and an articulated pelvic girdle and sacrum, were unearthed in 2000 at the Gondwana locality in the western Tertiary Desert in rocks of the Aptian-Albian Age Elrhaz Formation by a paleontological expedition led by Paul Sereno. These remains were found alongside remains of the Carcharodontosaur named Eocarcharia. However, it wouldn't be until 2008 that the animal would be formally named and described as Kryptops palealos by Dr. Sereno and Dr. Bressati. The genus name means covered face in reference to evidence that the face bore a tightly adhered skin covering in life. With specific name palealos meaning old. So reaching around 19 to 23 feet or 6 to 7 meters in length and 1,650 to 2,450 pounds, 750 to 1,100 kilograms in weight, Kryptops was a medium-sized theropod and one of the earliest known albilosaurids. There has been some debate on Kryptops' placement and even validity as a... I'm sorry, my eyes freaking out. Kryptops' placement and even validity as a genus. In 2012, Matthew Carano and colleagues found that Kryptops paleos to be a chimera, and that its pelvis and sacrum, found some 50 feet or 15 meters from the holotypic skull, actually belonged to the Carcharodontosaurid Eocarcharia Dinops. Yet Sereno and Bressati performed a holistic analysis which included these bones and found Kryptops to be the most basal albilosaurid. In life, Kryptops was likely ambush predators using the bite and hold tactic to hunt large prey, such as ornithopods and sauropods that share its environment with. Next up is Lurdusaurus, which is a genus of massive and unusually shaped iguanodontid dinosaur which lived throughout the Aptian and early Albian stages of the early Cretaceous period, some 125 to 112 million years ago. The holotype of Lurdusaurus, consisting of a nearly complete adult skeleton with a partial skull, were unearthed in 1965 by Philippe Taquet in the Gondwana site of the Elrhaz Formation in the Tertiary Desert of Niger. Taquet initially believed it to be a species of iguanodon, but in 1976 he noted it should probably be classified as a new genus. Paleontologist Soad Chabli described the remains in 1988 for her PhD thesis under the direction of Taquet. She named it Graveosaurus tenerensis. However, her dissertation was never published. It wouldn't be until 1999 that Taquet and Dale Russell published the first formal description naming the animal Lurdusaurus arenatus. The generic name comes from the Latin lurdus, meaning heavy, and the ancient Greek saurus, meaning lizard, in reference to the enormous weight of the fossils. The species name areatus was Latin for sandy because it was found in a desert. Since then, a few partial specimens have been recovered, giving a more complete picture of the animal. Lurdusaurus has a highly atypical body plan for an iguanodont, reaching 23 to 30 feet or 7 to 9 meters in length and 6 to 7 feet or 1.8 to 2.1 meters tall at the shoulder when on all fours, with its stomach being held just 2 to 3 feet or 0.6 to 0.9 meters off the ground. This animal would have weighed around 5,600 to 12,200 pounds or 2,500 to 5,500 kilograms, making it incredibly heavy for an ornithopod, particularly of its size. Lurdusaurus had a small skull, long neck, rotund torso, and powerful forelimbs and claws. Its metacarpals, or wrist bones, were fused and reinforced into a large block, and the thumb spike is remarkably enormous, being around 60% larger than those of comparable iguanodonts. In 2007, paleontologist Thomas R. Holtz Jr. speculated that Lurdusaurus may have been the dinosaur equivalent of a hippo, as they both shared a heavy, stocky body plan. Others have stated similarities to Lurdusaurus's anatomy to that of giant ground sloths, some of whom were also aquatically aligned. As such, it has been proposed that Lurdusaurus, while capable of walking on its hind legs, was primarily quadrupedal and semi-aquatic. Living in forested riverine environments, spending much of its time in the water and utilizing its unique enormous thumb spikes to help it feed on vegetation as a defensive weaponry against predators. And lastly, we have Sarchosuchus, also known as the supercroc. It is an extinct genus of crocodiliform and distant relative of living crocodilians that lived throughout what is now Africa and South America from the late Hottentovian Hottentovian to the early Albian of the early Cretaceous period, some 133 to 112 million years ago. From 1946 to 1959, French paleontologist Albert Félix de Laparette led multiple expeditions to the Sahara Desert. During such time, several crocodiliform fossils, consisting of fragments of the skull, teeth, scutes, and vertebrae, were unearthed in the continental intercalaire formation, the Fogar Ben Dror region, the El Utar formation, and the Elrhaz formation. These were attributed to a large, long-snouted yet undiagnosed crocodiliform. Then, in 1964, a team of researchers from the French Alternative Energies and Atomic Energy Commission discovered an almost complete skull in the region of Gondwana in Niger. This specimen was then described by Braun and Tarquet in 1966, who named the animal Sarchosuchus Imperator, meaning Flesh Crocodile Supreme Ruler. In 1977, a reevaluation of the material consisting of a lower jaw, dorsal scute, and 2 teeth, initially found in Brazil by American naturalist Charles Hart in 1897, found them to be Sarchosuchus. These remains were initially classified as a species of Crocodilus, then as Goniopholis, and are now considered to be the type specimen of S. harti. The next major findings occurred during expeditions led by American paleontologist Paul Sereno in 1995, 1997, and 2000, who discovered 6 fairly complete Sarchosuchus individuals, reaching around 26 to 33 feet or 8 to 10 meters in length and 7,600 to 9,500 pounds or 3,450 to 4,300 kilograms in weight. Sarchosuchus was a behemoth of a beast. It sported a giant head with an elongated jaws, slightly telescoping eyes, and an expansion at the end of its snout known as a bulla. The body was covered in armor, and the tail was long and strong, yet flexible. In life, Sarchosuchus would have inhabited inland swamps, lakes, rivers, and wetlands, feeding on a plethora of fish, amphibians, invertebrates, turtles, lizards, pterosaurs, and other crocodiliforms, and even the occasional dinosaur. As always, take care to my guys, gals, and non-binary pals. I hope you have a wonderful dinosaur day, and I hope your Pride Month goes well. Bye.